I was exposed to a lot of different kinds of Protestant Christianity when I was a kid. Everything from Baptist to Lutheran, Assemblies of God, Pentecostal, Presbyterian, many different denominations, and kind of saw the full spectrum of Protestant Christianity. Going into high school, I had a kind of a crisis of faith, like a lot of teenagers, where I really wanted to understand, is this applicable to me? Is this something I believe rather than just something I was told? And I really struggled with that question to the point where it just kind of produced a lot of despair. And I kind of gave up altogether and went into a phase of rebellion, again, like a lot of teenagers, but just really gave up on the idea that God really had anything to say to me personally. Maybe he existed, maybe not, but I wasn't really sure, and I just kind of walked away from that. I came to a point where I thought Christianity, a lot of Christians were just hypocrites. They were really inauthentic, kind of wearing fake smiles on Sunday mornings, but then going back to kind of non-Christian or secular lives during the week. That was just kind of my cynical belief. But then going into my senior year of high school, we started going to this Presbyterian church. And the pastor was really a wonderful man who really had a lot of theological knowledge, and knew a ton about the scriptures, but also had a very warm heart. And his preaching really turned my world upside down and brought me back to belief that Christianity really did have something to say, that Christ really was real, and that I wanted to understand that and know that for myself. And so it really reawoke a love of the scriptures and a love of God and a desire to pray and really know Christ for myself for the first time. So I grew up in Wisconsin, and I went to high school there for the first 3 years of high school. And then right before my senior year of high school, my parents announced that we were moving to South Carolina, which I was not happy about. And my stepdad ended up getting a job at Bob Jones University's radio station, which meant that I got free tuition at Bob Jones Academy, which is the high school of Bob Jones University, and was not happy about that in any way. I knew it was a very strict school with a lot of rules and requirements, but I ended up going there, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. But I graduated from there, ended up making some friends, a lot of whom went on to Bob Jones University. And so I just followed them. I went straight into the university for my freshman year, and spent that year at Bob Jones University. And then eventually transferred to a small Bible college in Wisconsin, just because my family had moved back to Wisconsin by that point, and I could save on room and board by transferring back to Wisconsin. But that year at Bob Jones University was really formative for me. So at Bob Jones, I really discovered a lot of things that I didn't expect to discover at Bob Jones University, one of which was their art gallery that had countless Catholic art and paintings and sculptures and icons, even going back to the early days of the church, and really just fell in love with the beauty of this artwork and the faith that it represented. Because ultimately, it wasn't just about the art in itself; it was about the faith that produced it, and that really awakened a longing in me to understand the ancient faith. What the earliest Christians believed, going all the way back to the catacombs and the earliest days of the church. I really wanted to understand that for myself. And I was also exposed to some beautiful Catholic music at Bob Jones. I also discovered a book of Catholic apologetics there, read the early church fathers there. So a lot of things that I never would have imagined I would have discovered at Bob Jones University, at Fundamentalist Baptist University. I did discover ancient Christianity. I discovered that it was liturgical. And so I really wanted to discover liturgical Christianity and what that might be like. And so I started slipping off during my Bible college days to a local Episcopal church. It was very little picturesque church in a beautiful setting, and just started exploring that. And it was what I thought I was looking for. It was beautiful, dignified services. It kind of had a sacramental presence there. At least that's how I perceived it, with the Eucharist kind of being the center rather than the sermon. And I was really drawn to that. And also around that time, Found out there was a Anglican seminary nearby that again had services that were open to the public, and I went to that and made a lot of friends there, a lot of really wonderful people. Again, I thought this is what I was looking for. It's this hybrid of, or I can be this evangelical Christian, this Reformation Christian, and have this zealous evangelical faith, but combine it with liturgical beauty, beautiful music, stained glass, incense, all those things that I loved that felt very ancient and very traditional, but were also still firmly rooted in that Reformation tradition that at the time I was really drawn to. And the reason I guess that was ultimately not fully satisfying was it had beauty, it had goodness, but it had no truth. There was nothing that was agreed upon as far as a set of beliefs, a statement of faith, a creed. Some people said that there were 2 ecumenical councils. Some people said there were 8. Some people said there were 2 sacraments. Some people said there were 7. No one could agree really on anything, even the most fundamental tenets of the faith. And so that the truth was really missing from that picture, although that picture was very beautiful externally. But it kind of became at some point like a cult of beauty. Like there's just wonderful liturgy, but there was no substance behind it. And that really created a longing for something that combined beauty and truth. And that kind of led me on to the Catholic Church. The decision was slow in coming, but it really, what really pushed me over the edge was seeing Pope Benedict visit England and have evensong with the Archbishop of Canterbury. And as they're sitting there right side by side, just feeling this magnetic attraction to Pope Benedict as the spiritual father that I was looking for, and the Catholic Church being that ancient, historic, beautiful, good, and true church that I had been searching for years, ever since coming back to embracing the Christian faith. It really was the culmination of all of those things that I was looking for. And really at that point, I felt this longing in my heart to become Catholic. And of course, I still had to wrestle with all the issues and all the differences theologically that separated Catholics from Protestants. But at that point, I just felt this deep attraction to Catholicism that I had to figure out and answer. After a long process of studying for several months, intensely, very, very intensely studying the differences theologically that separated Catholics from Protestants, and understanding what Catholics had to say for themselves and the theological justifications that Catholics had for their beliefs, the deal was pretty much sealed. I knew I had to become Catholic. It was inevitable. And at that point, it was just a matter of finding a parish and enrolling in RCIA, and eventually that's what I did. I was confirmed in Easter of 2012, and yes, it was absolutely the right decision, and haven't looked back. It was something that answered all the longings of my heart for beauty, for goodness, for truth, yes. But all those roads really did seem to lead back to Rome for me. The further I followed those threads, those seeds of desire that God had planted in my heart through many of the experiences of my life, whether that was through literature or certain music that I enjoyed, or poetry sometimes, or artwork, all of those threads seemed to lead back to Rome. And not even just those beautiful things, also the goodness. Like I just remember seeing Mother Teresa on TV and just seeing her profound love and charity and being magnetically attracted to that. And so it absolutely was the right decision, and it has satisfied all of those instincts that I had early on.